Good evening. Welcome to the Friday Night Takeaway with Mr. B, TalkMU, and our special guest, Brits. Good evening. How we doing, gentlemen? How we doing, Brit?
Very well, thank you, sir. Yourself?
I'm good, man. Long time no see, man. I see your beards making mine a little bit jealous. But yeah, I'm getting there, man. I'm getting there, man.
Yeah. I tell you what, if you could both see my beard, mate, you'd be on the floor. Let me tell you.
Well, look, maybe it'll happen one day when you actually switch your mic on, talk. You know what I mean? It'd be good to see. Maybe I've walked past you 3, 4, 5 times.
Who knows?
I have no idea.
There's a lot. Listen, what I'll say is there's a lot of like Liverpool fans and Man City fans who already know me because I'm living in their head rent free. And I have been for years. So they just don't know it yet.
That's what we do. That's what we do. We're the rent-free kids. We're the rent-free kids. Gentlemen, Friday.
Yes.
Love
topics. Van De Beek. Let's talk about some Van De Beek. Brit.
Interesting.
Oh man, Donny. And I keep on saying it, and this is all I can go revert to is there has to be something in training that's going on for the reasoning behind him not getting on the pitch. It's the only way. Like he's probably better than Fred and or Scott, but when he plays, we don't see it. We can't tell. So maybe the right call is being made. I have no clue. But there's something amiss. I would love to be a fly on the wall at training to see what all that's about because I'm at a loss.
Talk.
Yeah, I mean, I did mention that myself a few months ago about the possibilities of attitude and application, in training, because obviously that's a key factor in terms of giving faith to the manager and that you're firstly understanding what it is he wants you to do, and secondly, you're going to do exactly what he wants you to do when you go on the pitch. But I just think also that maybe he's just not brave enough to play him. I believe that Ollie's just not brave enough to play him because obviously everybody's talking about the position of the number 10. We know that Bruno ain't going to be replaced as a number 10.
Correct.
Neither is Pogba. If Pogba was to ever take up that role. But again, for me, there is room for him. There is room for him there in that midfield. But it's just a case of I think Ollie needs to let go of the kind of fear of, the protecting the back too. When we're going forward, I think that's his. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think because in that press conference the other day, he talks about trust. What he always brings up trust when he's talking about McFred. So does that kind of interpret I don't trust Donny?
Yeah, that's what it does to me. I mean, because otherwise, I mean, obviously we've seen Donny when he's played, and he seems like, to me, there's aspects of his game where you're just like, yeah, this kid's, his quality, it's the way he utilizes the space. And his movement is fantastic. We know that. But there has been a few occasions, obviously, when we've watched him play with that, it's not quite gone his way. However, it's sort of what's the saying, spits and starts, something like that. So without that kind of like continual sort of time on the pitch to bed in, then it's always going to be a cold start, isn't it, for Donny? And I just think it's either that, right? This is my theory, is that maybe, right, well, there's a couple of theories going around. One is that, okay, if Pogba is going to leave us, then Donny's going to be the replacement. However, that doesn't sort of add up, because if you look at Donny's attitude, which we'll talk about shortly, you look at Donny's attitude in the last game on the bench, that doesn't add up, because surely that conversation would have been had between Ollie and Donny and his agent.
Right.
If you're bringing a player in you're saying, look, listen, you're here because if this guy here leaves, you're going to take his place. You would understand that. So you would then just be like, right, boss, you knuckle down in training, you keep fit, and you're ready. You'll get some game time in between. Don't get me wrong. So it's either that, or the other theory is that Donny was brought in as a kind of a mate weight, so that in future negotiations for other players, if we bring in Donny in, but the only thing that doesn't add up in that is the lack of game time that he's got. So I would have think if you brought him in, like I'll give you an example of what I mean by this, because record companies, you've just signed a band, like Kings of Leon, right? They're doing really, really well. Then somebody then points out, this band here, this other band sound like the Kings of Leon, are doing okay. What do you do as a record label? You sign them up. You give them a deal, then you don't release any of their stuff, and then nobody else can release it. So you've got the rights to it. So with players like Donny Van De Beek, you bring them in because then you don't want anybody else to get hold of him. The potential. You see added value to him if you bring him to your club and give him some time to sort of improve even more. Then you use him as a mate weight in terms of doing future deals. But again, the only hole in that I can see is the fact that he's not getting as much game time. That's the thing. So for me, it's still a bit of a conundrum. And the last one is obviously the one that I don't know if you two will agree. The fact that Donny was bought without Ollie's knowledge and wasn't part. Ollie wasn't part of the conversation around that, and he was just brought in, and that was it.
That theory is picking up weight, like as time goes by. Ollie didn't really want him. Ollie didn't want him. And it's like almost that Van der Sar just sold him the idea of a Donny Van De Beek.
Okay, so my question to you then, as a manager, that makes Ollie a pussy. Because he's had a player thrown on. Listen, if you're the manager of a club, you're the big boss, your decisions are supposed to end with you. So if he didn't want Van Der Beek, he says he doesn't want him. That is £40 million that we could have spent on something else. Or something else, someone else.
Mr. B, you're right, because let's have it right. Listen, did the board ever just buy players without Alex Ferguson's knowledge? Player?
Exactly.
They didn't have the audacity to do that.
And the thing is, on top of that, how would they then change the way they do things? Especially with a manager who played under Ferguson and was so successful. You ain't do that. So for me, Ollie has been involved in the purchase of Donny Van De Beek, and there's obviously some, it's one of those reasons that we've said there that is what is going on with Donny Van De Beek. Oh, you've gone muted, Mr. B.
Sorry. Could the final straw for Donny be the fact that he's been left out the Dutch squad? Could that be the final nail in his coffin?
That says a lot too. So maybe that is an explanation within itself, with Donny being dropped from the Dutch squad. Or, like I say a lot of times when something like this happened, there's some behind the scene negotiations going on, and they're like, well, if we can't see him play, keep him healthy, while they mesh out the details, and we may see something in January.
Yeah, but then we've lost money. The club's lost money. But we spent £40 million on Van Der Beek. Let's be honest, if he goes out on loan, then
it doesn't make sense. That would be it'd be a typical, hey, Man
Let's have
United board running things.
If we look at it, let's just look at the situation. Is if he was going to go out on loan, he would have gone out on loan in the summertime. They would have, they would have said, "Look, right, it's time for you now. You're not really going to have the time, this season coming up. So we're putting you out on loan." If there were future plans for him, but again, even then, why would you? It's like, you bring in this asset because he is an asset to the club. Let's have it right. You bring him in, and then it's almost as if, like, we don't know what to do with him. You know what I mean? It's almost as if, like, well, what do I do with you now? It's like, and to have him just sat around wasting his ability, and he's sort of going rusty, because he is going to be going rusty. It's okay training, but training means nothing unless you get it out there in the pitch in the real game situations, because that's where you learn the craft in the Premier League. Let's have that right for starters as well. You've got to learn the Premier League. This is not something where you can just bring your A game from the Eredivisie and just go, right, it's going to fit straight into the Premier League. It don't work like that. You've got to sort of like you've got to be like a chameleon. You've got to change and adapt to the Premier League with your skill set and then adapt it to that. So I don't understand why we're just letting this asset sit there, become so frustrated that he's now sort of, he's throwing his bib on the floor, he's throwing his
and bubble gum.
yeah.
And,
the funny.
Which in one instant it's cool to see, a guy showing passion because he wants to hit the pitch. I get all that. But then there also is this little professionalism thing. And there's a fine line between the two. I'm not saying he was unprofessional or anything, but there's a fine line. And it could be attitude carrying over from training, which would be the thing too. Who knows?
I'll give you a quote from Sir Alex from Sir Alex Ferguson. He says, "Once you bid farewell to discipline, you say goodbye to success." Now, do you know what I mean? That's the boss talking right there. Ollie will know that 100% himself.
And we've been undisciplined for a long time.
Yeah, and the fact that we've let players go because of that, i.e., Lukaku. Lukaku was a problem in the dressing room. He was getting too big for his boots, etc. These are the rooms that we've heard, and that goes hand in hand with how the ethos of the club goes. Exactly what I've just said with that quote. So the discipline side of things, I should imagine that Ollie will no doubt berate Donny for that. But then it's going to be an interesting conversation when you say, okay, wait a minute, you're having a go at me now because I've lost my rag. Fair enough. But I've been here now for however many months. I've only had X amount of minutes. You're playing players ahead of me who are not even showing the greatest of form and are getting criticised by the fans. Why am I not getting this opportunity?
Yeah, it's a conundrum with Donny, man. Only time will tell. And
how long do you think he's got? You think he's going to be here in January? Do you think he's going to hand in a transfer request in January?
If he does, oh man, then we're probably right on the attitude thing.
So you brought up
what I would think.
See, you brought up attitude and trust. The one player who I know for a fact Ollie now trusts is De Gea.
Oh, and I hope the United supporters groups are back on the team. Goodness, man.
Look, we talked about De Gea, Mr. B. I don't know if you was with us, Britt, when we were talking about De Gea, but this was going back about 3 months, something like that. We were talking about who's, is it going to be Henderson or De Gea to be number one? Do you remember?
Oh, yeah.
I think most of us backed De Gea to actually, come good because, like we were saying, you don't just lose all that you are. You just don't lose it. No. I mean, you've got to remember here that the way I look at this as well is you look at De Gea's expectations at the club, the reason why he didn't get his move to Real Madrid. You got to think about, look, he's wanting to go to Real Madrid. Why? Because they were doing well. They got great players. The chances of winning and being successful was very high indeed. He gets convinced to stay at the club with promise
broken
of,
fax machine.
you know, yeah. Good point, Britt. Good point. I like that. But he gets convinced to stay at the club. That, you know, with promises of like, you know, we're building the squad. This is our ambition. With blah blah blah. Then you go, all right, okay, all right, yeah. So he stays. Still was doing all right. But then as that dwindles and the success is not coming, you know, the real success. I mean, you know, the fighting for the Premier League, winning the Premier League, Champions League, FA Cup. Then, I mean, you're bound to get, you know, a bit sort of, what's the word? Disillusioned, you know. And then and at the end of the day, he's only human. And also the other part of it is, other part. It's Friday night.
You got soloitis. You got soloitis.
I know. Yeah, solo. I don't know what you've given me, but yeah. Anyway, so the other part of it is you got to think about his. You know, we don't know what his family situation is. You know, because he's only human at the end of the day. All the players are human, no matter how much they're getting paid each week. You know, it doesn't stop them from suffering the same life toils and emotions that we suffer as human beings as well. So you can never forget that with the players. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I look at David De Gea at this stage.
Me? Yeah. How old's David De Gea? How old is he? Don't call 20. He's 30 something. Somebody will tell us in a minute anyway. But he, from what he came, I'm glad he's back to his level with his no doubters. There's nobody saying, no, he should be dropped or he should be rested. Or he's our number one now, and that's what I'm happy about. He's nailed down. That's what I want all Man United players to do. Nail down your position so the manager can't drop you. That's all you need to do. Play to the best of your ability, and that's what he's been doing. Because let's be honest, he's kept us in quite a few of the games that we've been playing. You know, we've got Varane in there, but De Gea is still being overworked, in my opinion. You know, so long live De Gea, and I swear, I mean, is he back in? Has he been called up into the Spain squad? Because I know the last couple of games he didn't play for Spain, so it'd be interesting if the Spanish manager now has faith in De Gea again, because last season he was being touted as, you know, he was being treated so disrespectfully.
Oh, yeah, he was.
Do you know the other thing about all this is as a group of people trying to be successful, everybody has to be in the same frame of mind, because you don't want to be distracted by one or two players who aren't, then you having to keep reminding them and keep trying to G them up. It takes your eye off, you know, what you have to do to get yourself focused and G'd up. You know what I mean? So everybody has to be on board. And I think this is where Ole, to be fair, has actually done a good job. You know, even with De Gea, because he's pulled De Gea back on board. So, you know what, everything on that from that aspect looks really well. So I believe that's what partly as well why David De Gea is now looking like he's getting back to his best. You know?
Yeah. Agreed. Love him back doing De Gea things, man. Making really, really good saves. Our positioning on the back post are very, very poor right now, and he has had to come up with some amazing saves to keep would-be for sure goals in, and he bails out those defenders, and it's nice to see him doing it again. And like Mr. B, you pointed out, he has to be in a better mood. He has to be feeling better about life, because the De Gea of last campaign, that dude's gone, man. We got the previous De Gea back.
Can I say something to you, though? I'm going to say something to you. This isn't a sexist comment. I don't want it to be taken in the wrong way. When he's expecting a baby, his home life probably wasn't as normal as it could have been, or as settled as it could have been. You know, his wife's going to probably want this, sleeping pattern changes. So the fact that the baby's been born during the summer, there's now settled into a routine, maybe that is the part of it that has now settled his head and got him calmed down. You know, I mean, we would never know, but you know, from experience, that's what happens. The hormones are all over the place. She's cussing about this and that, and then now, boom, the baby's born. There's peace and harmony in the house. What are you saying, Talk? You agree?
Yeah, I mean, look, if you look at it this way, right? Just from my point of view, experience as a father, when my son was born, there was no way would I want to be sleeping in a different room to my son when he was born. No way. He was there. I wanted to be right next to him. First little murmur, bang, I'm awake. What's up? What's going on? So I should imagine if the case is, for the club's point of view and the manager's point of view, that no, look, you've got to be sleeping in a separate part of the house. I mean, we don't know if that's the case with Give a grow.
Oh, dude, man. Love you, brother.
Speak up for Monday. Do you know what? Can you see it? Let me ask you this. Do you see Ollie and who had others at the club advising players that when they've had children, babies like that? Because you know what it's like? You know, when they're up until a certain age, it's like 3 times a night you're awake. Do you think they've advised to look, you need to get your rest and you need to sleep away in a different part of the house, different room away, so you get your rest? What do you think? Do you think that goal? Do you think they say that?
It could be. It could be advice that they give. It could be advice. I wouldn't say they're told, because let's be honest. If your boss is telling you what to do, and it's not something you're either going to tell him to, or you know, you'll tell him, yeah, I'll do it, and then you're not going to do it. So
exactly.
Maybe it was an advice. Maybe it's advice that they had. Try and get 4 hours or 5 hours free sleep or whatever. Blah blah blah. But nothing beats waking up with a baby, man. So let's be honest. The Gea right now seems like he's in a very 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 good place.
He does. He looks happy. Like his role has changed, and he just looks so amazed and so like, this is life. This is good. I dig this. And you can tell by his performance on the pitch. Like, he is in a good place right now. And that's wonderful to see.
Are we all agreed then that, like, David De Gea is number one. He stays number one. Simple.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. 100%.
Yeah. Definitely.
Something I've got to ask you, though. You know, you see these players in training.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, De Gea is now in training. He's up against players like, he had Cavani to improve him. Obviously, he's got Cristiano Ronaldo now, but we've got a little gem in our ranks who I'm wondering he could be really keeping De Gea on his toes. Talk about Mason Greenwood.
Ooh, Mason, he's my guy. Mason is my guy. I told you, I wanted to try and adopt him, but I said no. Do you know what? They thought it was. I got a letter back from Old Trafford saying we are very concerned about this. We're gonna, but no. Listen, Mason Greenwood is. I mean, you can say all the superlatives you want, and they've already been said. But I mean, I don't mind saying them all again.
Yeah, right.
He is absolutely he is going to be world class in my opinion. There's no two ways about it.
Anthony,
golden boy nomination. You know what that means, and you know why he's been nominated. As a under 21-year-old, he scored the most goals in the last year. I'm not gonna lie, I haven't looked at the list, so I can't say he's in comparison with this person. He's comparison with that person, but what I will say is there's not going to be much who is gonna will be ahead of him in that pecking order, and it would be nice. It would. Can you imagine what he would be feeling like if he got that award, or what we will be feeling like? That's proud. We're proud.
Mr. B, I'll tell you who he's up against. He's up against Bukayo Saka, who I love. I love Bukayo.
Oh, I like him.
Right. He's up against Jude Bellingham, and he's up against Luke Thomas. I'll be fair, I don't know who that guy is. I've never heard of him. I don't know who he is. If anybody can enlighten me as to who Luke Thomas is, I'll be gutted if he plays for United. Does he play for United? Oh my days! I just don't know. The name doesn't ring a bell. It really doesn't.
Anybody else on there? Anybody else on that list? That's what I'm saying. I'm wondering if maybe that could be a little thing on his mantelpiece before his 21st. All right, we would like a team trophy. Let's be honest.
Right, that would be cool, because he's not in the England squad, right?
No.
Well, that's cool.
And
that's cool.
Is that? You think that's personal? You think that's a personal thing?
I have no clue, but every time, like, he's still not, like, it. Maybe it means nothing, and I'm just reading too much into it because I always read into these little things.
Conspiracy, yeah.
But it could be, I don't know, because he's just not on, so I don't know what that means. Will that be any jeopardizing him for this award? Though they'd rather give it to an international.
I just think also as well, if you look at the position he's been playing for us on the right, I mean, on the England squad, we know Bukayo Saka's did absolute bits for us in the Euros on the right hand side. I think Phil Foden can play on the right hand side. There's other players there, and I think just because of his natural abilities as a striker, and he's not been playing that role for us consistently. Maybe that's why, Bukayo Saka may be thinking, well, look, you're not playing your natural position. He's looking for players who are playing their natural position, i.e. Saka. Has he been? I'm not an Arsenal fan, but maybe Anthony can enlighten us on this one. Anthony, let us know. Has Bukayo been consistently playing on the right-hand side for Arsenal? And if so, has he been doing really well? Because if that's the case, then that explains a lot as well.
Very true.
You're muted again, Mr. B. Sorry.
So yeah, the fact that I think that's good for English football. The fact that they've got two. I mean, all right, you say nailed on the English players. Greenwood's not in the squad yet, but Saka, every England squad he's been called into, and let's be honest, he is a very, very, very good player.
Lots of promise.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, sorry, pardon me. Final topic. Central midfield. A little rumour popped up in the week that obviously we haven't spoken about. We haven't given too much talk time to. But we've got a few minutes here. I'd like to talk about a midfield replacement for our CDM that we don't currently own. Calvin Phillips. A little rumour that we might be interested in Calvin Phillips. Talk to me.
Look, I've got a lot of admiration for Calvin Phillips, if I'm honest. He's got so many good qualities about his play. He did fantastic in the Euros. And I'm just going to quickly run you some quick stats against Calvin Phillips and Fred. Okay? So we're going to talk about defensive capabilities here. So quickly, Fred, aerial battles lost 4. Calvin Phillips, aerial battles lost 9. So Fred, aerial battles won 5. Calvin Phillips, aerial battles won 1. Successful 50-50s, Calvin Phillips 2. Fred 2. Duels lost, Fred 29. Calvin Phillips 28. Duels won, Calvin Phillips 22. Fred 26. Right. So let's have a look at some of the more like tackle success. Fred is on 43% for tackle success. Calvin Phillips is on 58%. So interceptions 5 for Calvin Phillips, interceptions 5 for Fred. Now, I don't know about you, recoveries 49 for Phillips, 41 for Fred. There's not a huge amount of difference in those two sets of stats for those players, in my opinion. So does that stack up? Does that stack up for you? I don't know.
That's very interesting. Very interesting stats there, man.
Yeah.
Okay,
You know what I mean?
okay. So we're going after another Fred.
Well, this is what it looks like.
You're right. But yeah, people are all on about him and lots of disrespect to Fred. And hey, I'm not going to wash my hands of any disrespect to Fred because I've done it. But if we're looking at a guy whose numbers are running up with Fred, what are we doing then? Getting younger? So we're getting a younger Fred. You know,
can we just point something out here? Those stats for me, when I look at those stats, yeah, I just think, wait a minute, but what's going on there then? Them stats you would expect. We're looking at Calvin Phillips, and fans are talking about Calvin Phillips, right? You just think, well, wait a minute. Fred's got very, very similar stats, if not they're very comparable, right?
Right.
So, but there was only one question that, for me, again, this is going to crop up time and time again throughout this season, which I did last season. The only thing that I can see there, the difference is how Fred is being coached, what it is they want him to do. If Fred is being misused and he's not being given the right information, the right coaching in terms of what they want him to do, then obviously he's going to find it difficult. Now, what's the point of us just bringing Calvin Phillips in to do exactly what Fred's doing when Fred seems like he can do it just as good? We're going to just, how much are we going to get for Fred if we sell him? How much is Calvin Phillips going to cost us? That's again, we talk about the recruitment issues. For me, if you're going to bring anybody in, it's got to be Declan Rice. He's got to be our number one, and I believe he is our number one. I've read it time and time again that Declan Rice is our number one. So when it comes to Calvin Phillips, I don't know. Would he? Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. How would Ole? What would Ole have Calvin Phillips doing differently than he would have Fred doing?
You know what? You've started. Whatever question you ask me now is just mixing around my head. I'm sorry. Those stats that you just gave out. I mean, I think. I want you to tell me that you're joking and you're lying.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, are you?
No.
Wow.
Britt thought it was a big wind-up, but no, it's true. Those stats are right there. They're right there, and this is what I'm saying with Fred. Is listen, I'm like you, Britt. I'll hold my hands up, and I've been to times when Fred's not good enough. He's not good enough. He's blah blah blah. But when credit's due, I will give credit to Fred. And in the past few games, for me, he has picked up his game massively. Don't forget that goal for us to win the last game was that beautiful first time cross. He put it absolutely put it right on the money beautifully.
Yeah, and even against Aston Villa, he wasn't giving the ball away like he had really, nor we're used to seeing him. He had tidied that up a little bit, but I think most United fans would still go, I'd rather have Calvin Phillips. Why? Oh, his name's not Fred.
Well,
it's the exact same thing. Apparently, there's only one difference. Phillips' name isn't Fred.
Can we call him Fred Phillips? It's like, I mean, for me, I just think with Fred, if he was, I don't know. I kind of maybe I'm clutching at straws or so. I don't know, but I just think, and I keep going back to it, but I just think there's a disparity, and I've said it about 5 times now, and I'll stick to it. There is a disparity between what Ollie is wanting the team to do and the coach is getting the team to do it. There's something missing in that link. It's not a straight line. There's something going wrong in that for me. And if until Ollie identifies what that problem is, because let's have it right. I mean, Mr. B, you're a coach. You coach. It doesn't matter what you coach, whether you're coaching kids or coaching adults. It's a similar thing. You've got to be clear in your explanations of what their responsibilities are and how they carry them out. Because it's okay being good on the ball, and you can run with the ball and you can kick a ball. Yeah, that's great. But not every player understands what the responsibilities of their role.
Yeah, I hear that.
What I mean? So if that is not being conveyed to Fred from the coaching staff, and they're just sort of continually talking about all right, Fred, you're going to be playing, and you're going to be playing alongside Scott. We just want, you've got to, just run about a bit, and you've got to get blah, blah, blah. That's like, well, okay, well, what specifically? What is like specifically my role? Where do I need to be most of the time off the ball? Where do I need to be? That's something that you need to understand, especially in that position, is where do I need to be off the ball? So I don't know. Just an open question I'm putting out there. Is this part of the problem?
We've addressed coaching quite a bit, and we'd say, yeah, you're probably right. So then my thinking is, damn, maybe Fred's really, really good, and he's just getting coached to shit.
Yes, Britt.
Oh, Britt, man, you are too funny.
You know what? It's funny because listen, let's have a look at it. Let's just look at it for 1 second. If we you look at that squad on paper, when you look at it in that 4-2-3-1, right before every game, you're like, we've won that game, we've got it, we've won it. But then when they go out, it's like they've got blindfolds on. You know what I mean? It's like the last game we found Bruno Fernandes at right back and Diego Dalot in central midfield. We're like, what's going on here?
Full rotation. Rotation.
I know, but that causes a problem in terms of the. You know what I'm talking about? This is what I'm talking about. Is when we're talking about like you're not letting your attacking shape collapse too easily, because you then have to shuffle all back around again and get back into position, build the ball up again from the back. In which time the opposition have got back into shape, reset, and they're like, right, go on, then try again. Right? This is for me should not be happening. These players should be within a set sort of radius of the pitch, whether you say that you do not move from there. There's no need for you to move from there. We can control the game. You've got it's that again. I keep mentioning this as well. I've been talking about this for months. The out ball, the recycler. When you're in trouble,
who's our recycler? Is it Frederick?
It should be Fred because he's number 6.
Okay, the stat that you should have put up is whether Calvin Phillips is better at recycling the ball than Fred.
It don't say that bit.
I would guarantee it, but I ain't going to now. I guarantee you Calvin Phillips is a lot better at switch and play. I'm not going to go out on that limb, man. Apparently, Fred's better than I thought he was, and I've been mean.
I mean,
love you, Fred.
When we play, you see us lose our shape so drastically. Players out of position and all over the shop. And you just worry about that, because how often do you see Manchester City doing that? How often do you see Chelsea do that? Or Liverpool? Not very often. They keep their shape, they keep their discipline, because they understand you're going forward, you're pressing the ball forward. If they get in your faces and making it difficult for you, and you go, right, there's a risk of losing the ball here. Right, bam. No, you push it back, goes to the number 6. Players, and once it goes back to the number 6, players make a forward move. The number 6 carries the ball forward with protection from the 2 behind him, and he plays it left or right or over.
Yeah, and we've said it, our forwards won't do that because there's no trust back there.
Yeah, and again, this isn't.
But Oli trusts them, but the players don't.
Well, and let's not forget though that Oli is not the coach. Oli does not coach the team. He doesn't even go to training most of the time. He gives his instruction. He has to keep the players happy. He has to be involved in their private lives. He has to be, day in, day out, ringing players up. Bruno, everything okay? Is that your family okay? Everything great? Yeah. You got to do that as a manager because you keep the players happy then. If you don't speak to your players like Mourinho, you isolate players. I mean, Wayne Rooney quite clearly said it himself. He doesn't talk to players in the right way. That does not equate to having a happy squad. So Ollie's job is to keep the whole squad happy, because we all know about Alex Ferguson's abilities to remember and know even the youth players' and families' names. You can go to the youth players and say, hey, how's your mum? how's your dad, John, Brian and Mary, and your brother Paul, your sister Kate. And you, as a youth player, can you imagine that you're in the youth team and the boss, the God, comes up to you and says that to you? He knows your mum's name, your dad's name, your sister's name, and your brother's name. How good does that make you feel? Right? You go home on a high. You're like, wow, he knows he knows it, right? And this is what it's all about. So for Ollie, he's got all that to deal with, the other side of the club business to deal with, the conversations between Darren Fletcher and Murto about potential signings. Who are you looking at? Who is it you're looking at? Who are you interested in? What are the possibilities of X, Y, and Z? So Ollie says to the coaching staff, 4-2-3-1, right? This is going to be potentially, this is going to be the team, barring any knocks or injuries in training. Get them at it. You know what the opposition are. You know how they play and they're going to set up. Get them at it. And for me, that's where the disparity lies. Ollie's getting all the right information to the coaches. He's getting the players up for it, keeping them in a good mental state. But then the coaching staff is crumbling. They are not getting the players at it.
Right. The manager cares about me.
Makes for good.
Look, it's all about showing love, talk. That is what Ollie has to do. That is what we on the Man United agenda do. And that's how we're going to end the show. That's how we're going to end the show. One thing to Anthony Herbert, though. I never agree with Solo's team. I never agree with Solo's team. Absolutely. And on that, go on.
Solo, if you're still in the chat, can you quickly type in your team right now, just before we go? If you've got time, we'll give you 2 minutes.
Yeah, you've got 2 minutes. Then we'll see if he's watching now. Watch, he's gonna get done now. Watch, he's gonna put it in the comments afterwards. Sorry, I was in the toilet. Come on, Solo, get typing. Come on.
He'll tweet it, be like, here it is.
Before I go, obviously, we've not talked about the Everton game because we have done a preview to that, etc. We will be doing a watch-along, folks. Tomorrow, we're there at 12:15. We'll be doing a watch-along for the game. But I will just ask you two now, what are your score predictions for the game?
2-1.
2-1, okay. Britt?
Yeah, that's what I'm going with, too. I've been on it all week, man. Yeah,
it's the beards.
I'm sure if I remember serves, I went 1-0. Simply because I think Everton are going to be a really difficult proposition unless they give us a lot of time on the ball, which it could be totally different. I'm going to stick to 1-0. It don't look like Solo's watching. How dare you, Solo? I'm disappointed.
Yeah, that's all right. We'll tell him off. 2-0 United, Anthony's got. Mr. Herbert's got 2-0 United.
Yeah.
You got 2 minutes, boss.
Yeah, big up to everyone as well in the chat who's been in there. We've got lots of people who've joined us tonight, and it's very much appreciated.
Good contribution.
Yeah, definitely. We bypassed the chat for today. Maybe we'll incorporate it in the next show. What I tried to do was get him up on the screen. We appreciate every message, every like, every share, every finger button pressing. Everything's appreciated, guys. So can't get the management. No, we can't. We can't get the management. Big up, Charlie. Thank you.
Big up, Charlie. Big up, Charlie.
Thank you. On that, we're gonna go. Talk. Before we go though, who are you on the watch along tomorrow with?
Oh, it's going to be me, Solo, and Matt from Football United TV.
Oh, that's gonna be a good one. I've heard a couple of stories about Solo on when we can see the goal, so it will be an interesting watch. It will be an interesting watch tomorrow. Britt, you back next week?
Should be, yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Talk. I know you're going to be back next week. I'll see you next week. So,
yes, bro.
Everybody watching, Man United agenda, peep and peepettes. Thank you very much. Watch along tomorrow, 12:15, with Talk. Matt from Football United TV. And we've got the big boss man. Please behave tomorrow, boss. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Signing out.
Ciao.